Welcome to Alien Whispers. If you enjoy the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Now, let's dive into the story. The restaurant perched atop New York's skyline was a sanctuary of elegance, its floor-to-ceiling windows framing a city that pulsed with light. Skyscrapers glittered like constellations, their reflections shimmering in the glass. Inside, soft jazz wove through the air, mingling with the clink of crystal and the murmur of intimate conversations. Candlelight danced on white linen tablecloths, casting a warm glow over couples lost in their own worlds. It was a place for promises of love, of futures entwined. Derek Vance sat across from Sarah Kim, his fingers laced with hers. His dark hair was neatly combed, and his blue eyes sparkled with a warmth reserved for her alone. Sarah, radiant in a sleek black dress, smiled softly, her intelligent gaze reflecting the candle's flicker. 3 years together had forged a bond of trust and shared dreams, and tonight, their anniversary felt like a milestone. Derek had chosen this restaurant for its view, its ambience, and the unspoken promise of a question he hadn't yet asked. "Sarah," he said, his voice low and earnest, "these past 3 years have been the best of my life. I can't imagine a future without you." Sarah's cheeks flushed, her heart quickening. "Derek, you have no idea how much that means to me." Before he could say more, the restaurant's heavy oak door swung open with a soft chime. A hush fell over the diners as a figure stepped inside, her presence commanding attention. She was tall and striking, her skin shimmering like liquid metal, shifting from a serene blue to a fiery red as she scanned the room. Her eyes, large and luminous, glowed with an otherworldly light, catching hues no human could perceive. Her gown, a cascade of fabric that seemed to ripple with her emotions, drew gasps from nearby tables. She was alien, yet undeniably human in her grace. Derek's breath caught. Those eyes, he knew them. "Zara," he whispered, his voice barely audible. The woman's gaze locked onto him, and she moved toward their table with purposeful strides. The maitre d' hurried forward, his voice polite but firm. "Miss, do you have a reservation?" She ignored him, her focus unwavering. "Derek Vance," she said, her voice melodic yet resolute, carrying across the silent restaurant. "I've come to fulfill the promise you made me 10 years ago." Sarah's smile vanished, replaced by a mask of confusion. "Derek, who is this?" she asked, her voice trembling. Derek stood, his chair scraping against the polished floor. "Zara, what are you doing here? How did you even find me?" Zara stopped at their table, her skin now a steady crimson, radiating determination. "I've come to claim what you promised. You said you'd marry me when I grew up. I'm grown now, Derek. It's time to honor your word." The restaurant was a tomb of silence, every eye fixed on the unfolding drama. Sarah rose, her face pale, her hands trembling. "Marry you? Derek, what is she talking about?" Derek's mind reeled, memories of a distant festival flooding back. "It was just a joke, Zara. I didn't mean it seriously. You were a child." Zara's expression softened, her skin shifting to a gentle purple. "In our culture, promises to children are sacred. They're not taken lightly. You made a vow, and now you must fulfill it." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, her voice sharp with betrayal. "Derek, did you really promise to marry her?" Derek turned to her, his heart sinking. "Yes, but it was 10 years ago on Zorith. She was just a little girl. I didn't think she'd remember, let alone take it seriously." Zara stepped closer, her presence both alien and compelling. "I've waited for this moment, Derek. I've studied your world, your language, your customs. I prepared for this day because I believed in your word." Sarah's voice cracked. "And what about us? What about the life we've built together?" Derek felt like he was drowning, caught between two worlds. "Zara, please. This isn't the place. Can we talk somewhere else?" Zara's skin darkened slightly, a hint of frustration. "I didn't come to disrupt your life, Derek, but I cannot ignore what was promised." The tension was unbearable, the air thick with unspoken pain. Sarah looked at Derek, her eyes pleading for answers he couldn't give. Zara stood resolute, a living testament to a moment he'd long forgotten. and the restaurant watched, a silent jury to a drama that spanned stars. The silence stretched, a suffocating weight pressing down on Derek. Sarah's gaze burned into him, her hurt and confusion palpable. He wanted to reach for her, to erase the pain in her eyes, but his hands remained frozen at his sides. How could he explain a moment from a decade ago that he'd barely remembered until now? "Sarah, I swear, it was nothing," he said, his voice strained. "I was on Zorith for a trade negotiation. Zara was just a kid, maybe 8 years old. We were at a festival, and she was curious about Earth. I told her stories, and she said she wanted to marry someone like me when she grew up. I laughed and said, 'Sure, I'll marry you when you're older.' It was a joke, nothing more." Sarah's eyes narrowed, her voice trembling with anger. "A joke? And now she's here, demanding you marry her. Did you ever think to tell me about this?" "About her?" Derek shook his head, desperation creeping in. "I didn't think it mattered. I didn't know their customs. I didn't know promises like that were binding." Zara watched them, her expression unreadable, her skin a calm lavender. "Derek, I didn't come to cause you pain. But our traditions are clear. A promise to a child is a promise to the future. It cannot be dismissed." Sarah turned to Zara, her voice sharp. "And what about his life here? His life with me? Does that mean nothing to you?" Zara met her gaze steadily. "I respect your bond, Sarah Kim, but this is about honor and the weight of words spoken." Derek felt trapped, his world unraveling. "Zara, please. Let's find a way to resolve this without tearing everything apart." Zara nodded slowly. "That's why I'm here. To talk. To find a path forward. But the promise must be addressed." Sarah's eyes glistened with unshed tears, her voice barely above a whisper. "Derek, how could you let this happen?" Derek's heart ached. "I didn't know, Sarah. I swear I didn't know." Sarah took a step back, her hands clutching her purse. "I need to think. I can't do this right now." Before Derek could stop her, she turned and walked toward the door, her footsteps echoing in the silent restaurant. Derek stood frozen, torn between chasing her and facing the woman who had just upended his life. As Sarah's figure disappeared through the restaurant's door, a new presence filled the space. A tall, imposing man stepped forward, his skin a deep, steady purple that spoke of authority. His robes shimmered with threads of light, a testament to his status. His eyes, large and luminous like Zara's, carried the weight of experience and wisdom. "Kaylee's," Derek said, recognizing him instantly. He was Zara's father, the leader of the Zorathian Council, a figure whose influence spanned worlds. Kaylee's approached the table, his movements deliberate. "Derek Vance," he said, his voice resonant and calm. "I apologize for the abruptness of this meeting. It was not my intention to disrupt your evening." Derek's mind was still reeling. "Kaylee's, you know this was a misunderstanding. I didn't mean to offend your culture." Kaylee's raised a hand, his expression grave. "I understand your perspective, Derek, but you must also understand ours. In Zorathian society, words spoken to children are considered pure and binding. They reflect one's true intent, untainted by adult complexities. Your promise to Zara was witnessed by many, including myself. It is not something that can be dismissed." Derek ran a hand through his hair, frustration mounting. "But I'm not from your world." "I didn't know." Kaylee's nodded, his skin shifting slightly to a warmer hue. "And that is why I am here, to bridge the gap between our cultures. Let me share a story. Long ago, a human traveler promised a Zorathian child he would return with the light of 1,000 stars. He did not, and our people suffered, for we trusted his word. Since then, we have held such promises as sacred to ensure trust endures." Zara stepped forward, her voice soft but firm. "Father, I came because I believe in Derek's word. I believe in what he said that day." Kaylee's placed a hand on her shoulder, his skin briefly glowing gold. "And that is why we must proceed with care. Derek Vance, we ask only that you consider the gravity of your words and the path they have set in motion." Derek looked from Kaylee's to Zara, his mind a storm of conflicting emotions. How had a fleeting moment from his past become a crisis in his present? And what would it mean for his future with Sarah, for the alliance between Earth and Zorith? 10 years ago, Derek Vance stood in the heart of Lamora, Zoratha's capital, enveloped by the Festival of Lights. The twin suns had just set, painting the sky in swirls of violet and amber, while the city pulsed with life. The air carried the sweet tang of luminescent blossoms, their petals glowing faintly along the cobblestone paths. Alien music, a blend of crystalline chimes and deep, resonant hums, vibrated through the crowd, syncing with the rhythm of Derek's heartbeat. He was a stranger in a strange land, yet the festival's magic made him feel like he belonged. The Festival of Lights marked the end of Zoratha's long night, a celebration of renewal and hope. Floating lanterns drifted above the plaza, their soft glow casting a dreamlike sheen over the Zorathians, whose skin shimmered like liquid metal, shifting colors with every emotion. Dancers wove through the crowd, their movements fluid and precise, their skin flashing in sync with the music, gold for joy, blue for serenity, red for passion. Children darted between stalls, chasing glowing orbs that zipped like fireflies, their laughter a melody of its own. Derek, a 32-year-old diplomat in a crisp Earth uniform, was here to negotiate a trade deal, but the festival had stolen his focus. He marveled at the vendors offering delicacies that sparkled on the tongue, sunberries that tasted of honey and starlight, drinks that fizzed with a warmth like summer rain. He took a sip from a glowing vial, the flavor bursting with notes of citrus and something unplaceable, like the memory of a distant storm. "Incredible," he muttered, earning a grin from the vendor, whose skin turned a pleased orange. As he wandered, Derek's eyes caught a small figure by a stall selling crystal trinkets. A Zorathian girl, no older than 8, stood gazing at him, her skin a curious blue. Her large, luminous eyes, catching ultraviolet hues invisible to humans, sparkled with intelligence. She was Zara, and her presence was magnetic. "Hi there," Derek said, kneeling to meet her gaze. "What's your name?" "Zara," she answered, her voice clear and bold. "Are you from Earth?" Derek smiled. I am Derek. How'd you guess?" "Your clothes," Zara said, pointing at his uniform. "And your skin doesn't change color." Derek chuckled. "Nope, just plain old human skin. Yours is pretty cool, though." "What's blue mean?" "Curiosity," Zara said, her skin shifting to a warm yellow of excitement. "I'm curious about Earth. Is it true you have cities that touch the sky?" "Yeah, we call them skyscrapers," Derek said. "They're huge towers where people live and work, stretching way up high." Zara's skin flashed red with delight. "I want to see them someday." "What else is Earth like?" Derek leaned in, enjoying her enthusiasm. "We've got oceans, mountains, and food that doesn't glow but tastes amazing." "Ever heard of chocolate?" Zara shook her head, her antennae twitching. "What's chocolate?" "It's sweet, melts in your mouth, makes you happy," Derek said, miming a bite. "I'll bring you some if I come back." "Promise?" Zara asked, her eyes wide. "Sure thing," Derek said, winking. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Zara thought for a moment. "I want to learn about other worlds. Maybe marry someone from Earth." Derek laughed, charmed by her boldness. "Well, when you're all grown up, I'll marry you, and we'll explore the stars together." Zara's skin glowed a vibrant pink, radiating joy. "You promise?" "Cross my heart," Derek said, grinning. The words were a playful jest, meant to make a child smile. Derek didn't know that on Zorath, promises to children were sacred, binding vows witnessed by the community. As Zara skipped away, her laughter echoing through the plaza, Derek turned back to the festival, unaware that his words had woven a thread of destiny that would pull him back to Zorath years later. As the Festival of Lights reached its peak, Derek stood near a grand stage in Lumira's Plaza, where Kales, Zara's father and a revered Zorathian leader, addressed the crowd. His skin glowed a steady purple, a mark of authority, as his voice carried over the sea of shimmering Zorathians. "Tonight, we renew our bonds," Kales said, his words resonating with power. "We make promises that shape our future. Those given to our children are the most sacred, for they carry our hopes into tomorrow." The crowd responded with a collective hum, their skins shifting to a reverent silver. Derek, captivated by the ritual, barely noticed Kaylee's approaching until the leader's hand rested on his shoulder. Derek Vance, Kaylee said, his tone warm but serious. I saw you with my daughter earlier. Zara speaks highly of you. Derek smiled. She's a bright kid, Kaylee's. Full of questions about Earth. Kaylee's nodded, his skin flickering with a hint of concern. Zara is drawn to other cultures. But I must caution you, Derek. In our society, words carry weight, especially promises to children. They're not forgotten. Derek raised an eyebrow, recalling his earlier jest. You mean the promise to marry her when she grows up? That was just a joke. I didn't mean it seriously. Kaylee's skin darkened slightly, a sign of unease. To you, perhaps. But to us, such promises are sacred, binding across time. They are vows that shape destinies. Derek felt a flicker of unease, but brushed it off. I get it, but it was just to make her smile. I'm not actually going to marry her. Kaylee's gaze softened, but his voice remained firm. Intentions matter, Derek, but so do words. Be mindful of their power. With that, Kaylee's rejoined the celebration, leaving Derek to shrug off the warning. Surrounded by the festival's joy, he dismissed it as cultural nuance, unaware of the storm his words would unleash. In the restaurant on Earth, the weight of Kaylee's warning from a decade ago hit Derek like a tidal wave. Sarah had stormed out, her face etched with betrayal, and now he stood with Zara and Kaylee's, the air thick with tension. The other diners watched in hushed fascination, their whispers a soft buzz against the jazz still playing in the background. Zara, I don't know what to say, Derek said, his voice strained. I never thought you'd take that promise seriously. Zara's skin shifted to a gentle green, radiating empathy. I know it's a shock, Derek, but for me, your words were a beacon. I've spent years preparing for this, believing in you. Kaylee stepped forward, his presence commanding yet calm. Derek, we do not seek to force your hand, but this matter requires formal resolution. As Earth's representative, your actions affect more than just yourself. Derek ran a hand through his hair, frustration boiling over. What do you expect, Kaylee's? I can't just marry Zara because of a promise I made when she was 8. Kaylee's eyes narrowed, his skin steady. It is not so simple. In our culture, such promises are binding. Yet I recognize your customs differ. We may find a path that honors both worlds. Sarah re-entered, her eyes red, but her posture resolute. She approached the table, her voice steady despite the pain. Derek, you owe me an explanation. What exactly happened on Zorith? Derek exhaled, his mind racing. 10 years ago, at a festival, I met Zara. She was a kid, curious about Earth. We talked, and she said she wanted to marry someone like me when she grew up. I joked that I'd marry her. It was nothing serious. Sarah's gaze flicked to Zara. And you believed him? Zara nodded, her skin unwavering. In our culture, promises to children are sacred. They are meant to be kept. Sarah's jaw tightened. In our culture, they're just words. Kaylee's interjected, his voice measured. Perhaps that is our common ground. I propose a meeting with the council to address this diplomatically. Derek looked from Sarah's pained expression to Zara's hopeful eyes, then to Kaylee's steady gaze. The room seemed to shrink, the weight of their expectations crushing. How could he balance his love for Sarah, Zara's faith in him, and the fragile alliance between Earth and Zorith? As they left the restaurant, Derek felt like he was stepping into a storm, with no clear path ahead. One thing was certain, his life had changed forever, and the choices he made next would shape not just his future, but the future of two worlds. Derek sat at a sleek glass table in his Manhattan apartment, surrounded by holographic displays and data tablets. The city skyline sparkled beyond the window, but his focus was on the Zorathian texts glowing before him. Sarah sat across, her face illuminated by the soft light of a tablet, her eyes scanning lines of alien script. The air between them was heavy, the silence punctuated only by the hum of the devices and the occasional sigh. According to this, Sarah said, her voice tight but controlled, a promise to a Zorathian child is a covenant, witnessed by their community. It's not just cultural, it's practically law. She tapped the screen, pulling up an ancient Zarathian tale about a broken vow that led to a century of distrust. Derek rubbed his temples, his jaw clenched. So what's the loophole? There's got to be a way to undo it without me marrying Zara. Sarah's gaze flicked up, sharp with lingering hurt. The only way is mutual consent. Both parties, you and Zara, have to agree to nullify it publicly in front of their council. If Zara doesn't agree, you're bound. Derek leaned back, frustration etched into his face. She's not going to agree. She traveled across the galaxy for this. She believes in it. Sarah's fingers tightened around the tablet. Then we need to convince her, or find another way. Her voice softened, a flicker of their old partnership breaking through. I reached out to Dr. Lena Voss, an expert on Zarathian anthropology. She's sending us more records, but she warned that backing out could be seen as an insult to their entire culture. Derek met her eyes, guilt twisting in his chest. Sara, I'm sorry. I never meant for this to hurt you. Sarah's expression wavered, torn between anger and resolve. I know, Derek, but it's not just about us anymore. If we mishandle this, it could jeopardize Earth's trade agreements with Zorith. Their crystal tech is critical for our energy grid. Derek nodded, the weight of his diplomatic role pressing down. So we're stuck. I can't marry her, but I can't just walk away either. Sarah set the tablet down, her voice steady despite the strain. We'll figure it out together, like we always do. She reached for his hand, her touch tentative but firm. But you need to be honest with me, Derek. No more surprises. He squeezed her hand, a silent promise to try. No more surprises. I swear. As they dove back into the texts, poring over rituals and precedents, the tension between them eased slightly, replaced by a shared determination. But in the back of Derek's mind, Zara's luminous eyes lingered, a reminder that this was far from over. In a shadowed chamber deep within Zorith's capital, Vexer stood before a holographic map of the planet, his skin a volatile red, pulsing with barely contained fury. The Purity Vanguard, a faction of Zarathians opposed to interspecies alliances, gathered around him, their skin tones mirroring his agitation. Crimson, amber, stark white. The air crackled with their shared conviction. Zorith must remain pure, untainted by human influence. Vexer's voice was low, venomous. This human, Derek Vance, thinks he can toy with our sacred traditions. He promises marriage to Zara, our council leader's daughter, then claims it was a jest. Now she chases him to Earth, degrading our honor. A younger Zarathian, her skin flickering yellow with uncertainty, spoke up. But Zara believes in him. She says he's honorable. Vexer's skin flared brighter, his eyes narrowing. Zara is young, blinded by her father's dreams of alliance. Derek Vance is a predator, using her to gain access to our crystal technology. Humans have always coveted our resources. This promise is a ploy. The room murmured in agreement, skins shifting to a unified red. Vexer gestured to the hologram, zooming in on Lumera's central plaza. The council is weak, swayed by Kaylee's vision of unity. If Zara binds herself to this human, it will open the floodgates. More humans, more corruption. We must act. He turned to a grizzled warrior, his skin scarred and dull from years of battle. Torin, spread word among the outer clans. Tell them Vance is a liar, manipulating Zara to steal our secrets. Let the rumors grow. Torin nodded, his skin flashing a resolute orange. And if the council defends him? Vexer's smile was cold, his skin settling into a dark purple of calculation. Then we make them doubt. Stage protests, disrupt trade talks. If the people see chaos, they'll turn against this alliance. And if that fails, he paused, his voice dropping to a whisper. We take Zara. Without her, their union collapses. The Vanguard members exchange glances, their skins flickering with a mix of fear and resolve. Vexer's plan was bold, dangerous even, but his charisma held them fast. He raised a fist, his skin blazing red once more. For Zorith's purity. For our future. As the group dispersed, Vexer lingered, staring at the hologram. He remembered the old wars, when humans first arrived, promising peace but leaving scars. He would not let history repeat. Derek Vance would be exposed, and Zara would be saved, whether she wanted it or not. The rumors began to spread, seeping through Lumira's markets and beyond. Whispers of betrayal, of a human scheming to exploit Zoratha's trust. The council felt the first ripples of unrest, unaware the storm vexor was brewing, a storm that threatened to shatter the fragile bridge between two worlds. Derek stood in the heart of Lumira's ceremonial plaza, the same place where he'd met Zara 10 years ago. The air was warm, scented with luminescent blossoms, but the mood was solemn. The ritual of heart's intent, the Zorathian tradition for those bound by promises, required Derek and Zara to publicly share their intentions before the council and community. Hundreds of Zorathians gathered, their skins a kaleidoscope of colors. Blue for curiosity, gold for hope, red for skepticism. Zara stood beside him, her gown rippling like a starry night, her skin a steady teal of composure. She was no longer the child he remembered, but a woman of grace and intellect, her presence both familiar and disarming. Derek's Earth uniform felt stiff, a reminder of the gulf between their worlds. Kaylee's, presiding over the ritual, raised his hands, his skin a commanding purple. Derek Vance, Zara of Lamora, you are bound by a promise spoken a decade ago. Today, you declare your heart's intent, that we may understand the path ahead. Zara spoke first, her voice clear and resonant. 10 years ago, Derek's words gave me hope, a vision of worlds united. I have studied Earth, its people, its dreams. I stand here not to force his hand, but to honor the trust one placed in him. My intent is to explore what our bond may become, with respect and truth. The crowd hummed, their skins shifting to warm yellows and greens, moved by her sincerity. Derek felt a pang of admiration, but also guilt. Sarah's face flashed in his mind, her pain a weight he couldn't shake. He cleared his throat, his voice unsteady at first. Zara, your faith in me is humbling, but I made that promise without understanding its weight. I'm here to learn, to find a way that respects your culture and my commitments. My intent is to be honest, with you, with myself, and with those I care about. The crowd's colors flickered, some to blue curiosity, others to wary red. Zara's skin softened to a gentle purple, her eyes meeting his with understanding. Thank you, Derek, she said softly. Honesty is a good start. After the ritual, they walked through Lumira's glowing gardens, a required step to find understanding. Zara pointed to a tree with leaves that pulsed like heartbeats. On Zorath, we believe connections grow like these trees, slowly, with care. What do humans believe about love? Derek hesitated, Sarah's smile haunting him. We think it's about trust, sacrifice. Sometimes it's messy, complicated. He paused, then added, I'm trying to figure out what's right, Zara. For everyone. She nodded, her skin a thoughtful blue. I know you love Sarah, but I also know you meant those words to me, even as a jest. Intent matters, Derek. He looked at her, struck by her wisdom. You're not what I expected. You've grown into someone remarkable. Zara's skin flushed pink, a shy smile breaking through. And you're still the man who made me dream of the stars. As they continued, Derek felt a spark of connection, a pull he couldn't ignore. But Sarah's absence loomed large, and the whispers of unrest in Lamora, rumors of human deceit, made him uneasy. He was beginning to care for Zara, but at what cost? 3 months before Zara's arrival, Derek and Sarah stood on their apartment's balcony, the New York skyline a glittering backdrop. The night was crisp, the air alive with the hum of hovercars below. Sarah leaned against the railing, her dark hair catching the city's glow, her smile warm as she sipped wine. This city never sleeps, she said, her voice light. But up here, it's like we're above it all. Derek wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. That's why I love it. It's chaos, but it's ours. He kissed her forehead, his heart full. At 42, he'd found a partner who shared his passion for diplomacy, his dream of a united galaxy. Sarah turned to him, her eyes serious. Derek, do you ever think about the future? Not just work, but us. He grinned, brushing a strand of hair from her face. All the time. I see us building something, maybe a family, maybe a legacy. You and me, making the galaxy a better place." She laughed, but there was a hint of vulnerability. "You're always so sure. But diplomacy's unpredictable. What if something throws us off?" Derek shrugged, his confidence unshaken. "We've handled trade disputes, rogue AIs, even that mess with the Martian colonies. Whatever comes, we'll face it together." Sarah rested her head on his shoulder, her voice soft. "Promise? Cross my heart," he said, echoing a phrase from his past without a second thought. They spent the evening planning, dreaming of a shared office at the Galactic Council, of bridging worlds through their work. Sarah spoke of her research into interspecies ethics, her hope to prevent cultural clashes. Derek listened, captivated by her intellect, her fire. They were a team, unbreakable, their love a quiet strength that carried them through long nights and high-stakes negotiations. As they watched the city pulse below, Derek felt a rare certainty. This was his life, Sarah, their shared ideals, their future. He couldn't imagine anything disrupting it. But that night, as Sarah slept beside him, Derek's dreams flickered with fragments of a distant festival, glowing lanterns, a child's laughter, a promise made in jest. He woke with a vague unease, unaware that those memories were about to crash into his carefully built world, threatening everything he held dear. In Lumira's bustling market square, the air was thick with tension. The usual hum of trade, vendors hawking glowing sunberries, children chasing luminescent orbs, was drowned out by a growing crowd. Zorathians, their skins flashing angry reds and oranges, gathered around a makeshift stage where Vexer stood, his presence electrifying. His skin blazed a fiery crimson, amplifying his words as he addressed the restless throng. "People of Zorith," Vexer's voice boomed, cutting through the murmurs. "We stand at crossroads. This human, Derek Vance, mocks our sacred traditions. He promises marriage to Zara, our council leader's daughter, only to claim it was a jest. Now he parades through our city, pretending to honor her while scheming to steal our crystal technology." The crowd roared, their skins shifting to a unified red of outrage. A young Zorathian shouted, "Why does the council trust him?" Others echoed, their voices rising in a cacophony of distrust. Vexer raised a hand, silencing them. "The council is blinded by dreams of alliance. But we see the truth. Humans have always taken our resources, our trust. Will we let them take our future?" Torin, Vexer's loyal lieutenant, stepped forward, his scarred skin a dull gray. "Yesterday, I heard Vance question our rituals in private. He called them primitive. He laughs at our ways." The lie spread like wildfire, fueling the crowd's anger. A merchant, her skin flickering yellow with doubt, hesitated. "But Zara supports him. Could she be mistaken?" Vexer's eyes gleamed, his skin pulsing with conviction. "Zara is young, swayed by her father's ideals. We must protect her from this human's deceit." As the crowd chanted Vexer's name, a small protest erupted outside the council chambers. Demonstrators, their skins blazing, hurled glowing orbs at the building, their shouts echoing through Lumira's crystalline streets. "No human alliance. Protect Zoritha's purity." The council, convened inside, felt the pressure mounting. Kayles, his skin a steady purple, faced skeptical advisors who whispered of Derek's intentions. "Is Vance truly committed?" one counselor asked, her skin a wary blue. "The people doubt him. These rumors of deceit could unravel our trade agreements." Kayles' voice was firm. "Derek is learning our ways. We must give him time." But the unrest grew, fueled by Vexer's whispers. In the shadows, Torin met with a group of radicals, their skins dark with resolve. "Vexer's orders are clear," Torin said. "If the council won't act, we will. Zara must be removed from Vance's influence." As the protest dispersed, leaving the square littered with shattered orbs, Vexer watched from a distance, his skin a smug violet. The seeds of chaos were sown, and soon he would strike, ensuring Derek's downfall and Zoritha's isolation from the human taint. Derek paced the balcony of his temporary quarters in Lamora, the city's glowing skyline, a stark contrast to the turmoil in his heart. The twin suns cast long shadows, mirroring the conflict within him. Sarah's face, etched with pain, haunted him, while Zara's earnest eyes pulled at something deeper. His role as Earth's diplomat weighed heavy, each decision a thread in the fragile tapestry of interspecies relations. He glanced at his comm device, where a message from Sarah blinked unanswered. "We need to talk. Tonight." Her words, terse and cold, twisted his gut. He knew he couldn't avoid her forever, but every moment with Zara made his feelings murkier. The door slid open, and Sarah stepped onto the balcony, her expression a mix of resolve and vulnerability. Her dark hair was pulled back, her eyes red-rimmed, but steady. "Derek, we can't keep dodging this," she said, her voice low. "I need to know where we stand." Derek stopped pacing, his shoulders slumping. "Sarah, I'm trying to figure that out. This whole thing, it's a mess. I never meant to hurt you." Sarah crossed her arms, her voice trembling. "But you did. You're spending time with her, doing these rituals, and I'm supposed to just wait? I see the way you look at her, Derek. There's something there." He flinched, her words cutting deep. She's not what I expected. She's smart, passionate, but that doesn't mean I'm choosing her. I love you, Sarah. You're my home." Sarah's eyes glistened, her voice breaking. "Then why does it feel like I'm losing you? Every day you spend with her, I'm pushed further away. I'm trying to help you fix this, but I can't compete with a promise you made." Derek reached for her, but she stepped back. "I'm not trying to replace you," he said, desperation creeping in. "I'm stuck, Sarah. If I break this promise without Zara's consent, it could tank Earth's alliance with Zorith. But if I go through with it, I lose you. I don't know what's right anymore." Sarah's gaze softened, but her voice was firm. "You need to decide what you want, Derek. Not just for diplomacy, but for us. For you." Before he could respond, a sharp alert blared from his comm. Kaylee's voice crackled through, urgent and strained. "Derek, Zara's been taken. Unknown assailants ambushed her transport near the crystal mines. We need you at the council chambers now." Derek's heart plummeted, his eyes locking with Sarah's. "Zara," she whispered, her anger giving way to fear. He nodded, his mind racing. "I have to go." Sarah grabbed his arm, her voice fierce. "We're going. Together." As they rushed toward the chambers, Derek's thoughts spiraled. Zara was in danger, and the weight of his choices, his loyalty to Sarah, his growing care for Zora, his duty to Earth, threatened to crush him. Whatever happened next, nothing would be the same. In a dimly lit cavern beneath Zorith's crystal mines, Vexor convened his inner circle of the Purity Vanguard. The air was heavy with the hum of machinery, the walls glinting with veins of luminescent crystal. Vexor's skin burned a volatile red, his eyes blazing as he addressed his followers, their skins mirroring his fury in shades of crimson and orange. "The time for whispers is over," Vexor declared, his voice echoing off the jagged walls. "Zara's attachment to this human, Derek Vance, threatens our purity. Her father's counsel grows weak, seduced by dreams of alliance. We must act decisively to shatter their trust in Vance." Torin, his grizzled lieutenant, stepped forward, his scarred skin a dull gray. "The people are restless, Vexor. The protests have sown doubt, but the council still defends the human. What's our move?" Vexor's skin pulsed with calculated menace. "We take Zara. Without her, Vance's promise is meaningless, and his credibility collapses. The council will see him as a failure, unfit for our trust. The alliance will crumble." A younger Vanguard member, her skin flickering yellow with unease, hesitated. "Kidnapping Zara risks open conflict. She's Kaylee's daughter. The council will retaliate." Vexor's gaze silenced her, his skin darkening to a predatory purple. "Risk is necessary to save Zorith. We strike tonight, during her transport from the ritual grounds. My scouts have mapped her route. Torin, lead the ambush. Use stealth drones to disable her guards." Torin nodded, his skin flashing a resolute orange. "And once we have her, hide her in the eastern caverns," Vexor said. "No harm comes to her. She's a tool, not a target. We'll broadcast a message blaming Vance, claiming he orchestrated her disappearance to force concessions. As the vanguard dispersed, Vexor lingered, his skin settling into a smug violet. Hours later, the plan unfolded with precision. Zara's transport, a sleek hovercraft, was ambushed in a narrow pass. Drones emitted a pulse that disabled the vehicle, and masked operatives subdued her guards. Zara, caught off guard, was taken before she could react. News of her disappearance reached the council chambers like a shockwave. Kaylee's, his skin a stormy gray, faced advisors demanding answers. Vance must be questioned, one insisted, her skin red with suspicion. The fragile alliance teetered, and Vexor's shadow loomed larger, his plot tightening its grip on Zoratha's future. In the council chambers, chaos reigned. Zorathian advisors argued, their skins flashing in discordant colors, red for anger, blue for fear. Kaylee stood at the center, his skin a strained purple, struggling to maintain order. Derek and Sarah burst through the doors, their faces pale with urgency after Kaylee's urgent summons. Zara's gone, Kaylee said, his voice heavy. Her transport was attacked. We suspect the Purity Vanguard, but we have no proof. The council is fracturing, and they blame you, Derek. Derek's heart pounded, guilt and fear colliding. Blame me? I never heard Zara. We have to find her. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tension between them. We'll help. Whatever it takes. Zara doesn't deserve this. Kaylee's skin flickered with gratitude. Your willingness strengthens our cause, but the risk is great. The Vanguard is ruthless, and the Eastern Caverns are treacherous. Derek met Sarah's gaze, their earlier argument unspoken but present. We're a team, Sarah. We've faced worse. Let's do this. Sarah nodded, her eyes resolute. For Zara, and for the Alliance. Kaylee's provided a holographic map and Zorathian tech, crystal-powered trackers and pulse disruptors. Derek, drawing on his diplomatic training, outlined a plan. Infiltrate the caverns, avoid detection, and extract Zara. Sarah added tactical insights, her experience in crisis negotiations sharpening their approach. We move fast, Derek said, clipping a tracker to his belt. The longer we wait, the more Vexor can twist this against us. Sarah gripped his hand briefly, a flicker of their old bond. Stay sharp, Derek. We're not just saving Zara. We're saving everything we've built. As they prepared to depart, the council's skeptical eyes followed them. Derek felt the weight of their doubt, but Zara's safety drove him forward. With Sarah at his side, he stepped into the unknown, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Derek and Sarah descended into Zoratha's eastern wilderness, guided by the faint pulse of the crystal tracker. The landscape was alien and unforgiving, a labyrinth of glowing forests and jagged crystal caverns. Bioluminescent vines twisted through the trees, their light casting eerie shadows. The air hummed with static, a remnant of Zoratha's twin suns, and the ground crunched underfoot, littered with shards of reflective stone. The tracker's signal led them toward the caverns, but the path was fraught with danger. Sarah adjusted her pulse disruptor, her face set with determination. The signal's stronger, but we're walking into a trap. Vexor's not careless. Derek nodded, his eyes scanning the forest. We stick to the plan, move quietly, disable any drones, find Zara. No heroics. Their first challenge came at the edge of a glowing forest. A network of laser tripwires crisscrossed the path, their beams barely visible against the luminescent foliage. Sarah crouched, using a Zorathian scanner to map the grid. Motion sensors, she whispered. One wrong step, and we're done. Derek pointed to a narrow gap. There. We crawl through, single file. They moved with precision, bodies low, the beams grazing their backs. Sarah's steady breathing kept Derek grounded, but the tension between them simmered. Halfway through, a twig snapped under Derek's boot. A drone whirred to life above, its red eye locking onto them. Sarah fired the disruptor, sending a pulse that fried its circuits. The drone crashed, sparking in the undergrowth. Too close, Derek muttered, his heart racing. They pressed on, entering a canyon where crystal spires towered like frozen flames. The tracker's signal intensified, pointing to a cavern entrance guarded by 2 Vanguard operatives, their skins a menacing red. Derek signaled Sarah, and they flanked the guards. Using the disruptors, they stunned the operatives silently, their bodies slumping against the crystal wall. Inside, the cavern was a maze of tunnels, their walls pulsing with veins of light. The air grew colder, the hum of machinery louder. Derek's tracker beeped frantically, indicating Zara was close. But Vexor's traps were relentless. A pressure plate triggered a cascade of crystal shards from the ceiling. Derek shoved Sarah out of the way, taking a glancing blow to his shoulder. Pain flared, but he gritted his teeth, urging her forward. "You okay?" Sarah asked, her voice sharp with concern. "I'll live," Derek said, wincing. "Keep moving." They navigated a narrow ledge above a glowing chasm, the drop dizzying. Sarah's hand brushed Derek's, a fleeting moment of connection. "We're doing this for her," she said, her tone softening. "But we need to talk after." Derek nodded, guilt gnawing at him. "I know." The tracker led them to a fortified chamber, its entrance sealed by a crystal barrier. Sarah hacked the control panel with Zarathian tech, her fingers flying over the interface. The barrier slid open, revealing a squad of Vanguard warriors, their skins blazing with hostility. Derek and Sarah dove for cover as energy bolts scorched the walls. "Stay low," Derek shouted, returning fire with his disruptor. The pulses stunned 2 warriors, their skins fading to gray as they fell. Sarah lobbed a decoy orb, its flash disorienting the others. They fought in sync, years of partnership guiding their movements. Derek tackled a warrior, pinning him down, while Sarah disabled the last with a precise shot. Breathing heavily, they reached the chamber's heart. Zara was bound to a crystal pillar, her skin a pale blue of fear. Her eyes widened at the sight of them. "Derek? Sarah, we're here," Derek said, cutting her restraints with a laser tool. "You're safe now." Zara's skin flickered to a grateful green, but her voice trembled. "Vexor, he said you'd abandon me, that you never meant your promise." Derek's heart clenched. "I'm here, Zara. That's what matters." Sarah scanned the chamber, the disruptor ready. "We need to move. This place is crawling with Vanguard." As they retraced their steps, a secondary trap triggered, a swarm of micro-drones, their stingers glowing with paralytic venom. Derek shielded Zara, taking a hit to his arm. Pain seared through him, but Sarah's quick thinking activated a pulse wave, neutralizing the swarm. They stumbled out of the cavern, the forest's glow welcoming them back. Exhausted, they paused in a clearing, Zara leaning against Derek for support. Sarah stood apart, her eyes distant, the weight of their mission and their unspoken rift pressing down. The rescue was a success, but the cost was clear. Derek looked between Zara's relieved face and Sarah's guarded expression, the path ahead more uncertain than ever. Derek stood in a vast, subterranean chamber, its walls pulsing with crystal veins that cast an eerie glow. Vexor loomed at the center, his skin a blazing red, radiating defiance. The air crackled with tension, the hum of machinery underscoring their standoff. Zara and Sarah flanked Derek, their disruptors raised, but Vexor's Vanguard warriors encircled them, their skins mirroring his fury. "You're persistent, Vance," Vexor sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "But you're out of your depth. Zorith belongs to its people, not human opportunists like you." Derek stepped forward, his voice steady despite the odds. "This isn't about taking Vexor. It's about building. Zara believes in a future where our worlds work together. Why can't you?" Vexor's skin flared brighter, his eyes narrowing. "Cooperation? You mean subjugation. Humans have plundered every world they've touched. You seduced Zara with a false promise, a ploy to steal our technology. I protect Zoritha's purity." Derek shook his head, his conviction unwavering. "Purity isolates you. Look at Zara. She studied Earth, embraced our differences. That's strength, not weakness. Our alliance has already brought Zorith new medicines, energy solutions. What's your vision? Endless suspicion. Vexor's skin flickered, a hint of doubt breaking through. You speak of unity, but your kind betrays. Your promise to Zara was a lie, a mockery of our sacred vows. It was a mistake, Derek admitted, his voice raw. But I'm here, risking my life to save her. Doesn't that prove I care? We can't change the past, but we can shape the future together. Sarah's grip tightened on her disruptor, her eyes flicking to Derek with a mix of pride and pain. Zara's skin glowed a hopeful green, her gaze fixed on him. Vexor's warriors shifted, their skins wavering between red and blue, caught by Derek's words. Vexor snarled, his skin returning to crimson. Words, Vance. Empty words. Zorith will never bow to you. Then let's talk, not fight, Derek urged. Give Zara back to her people. Let the council decide. Vexor hesitated, his skin pulsing erratically. But before he could respond, an alarm blared, signaling approaching council forces. With a furious glare, Vexor signaled his warriors. This isn't over, he spat, retreating into the shadows, leaving Derek's plea hanging in the air. In a quiet clearing outside the caverns, the glow of Zoritha's bioluminescent forest bathed Derek, Zara, and Sarah in soft light. The adrenaline of the rescue had faded, leaving exhaustion and raw emotion. Zara sat on a moss-covered stone, her skin a gentle teal, her eyes luminous with gratitude. Derek stood nearby, his shoulder bandaged, while Sarah kept watch, her posture tense. Zara's voice broke the silence, soft but clear. Derek, I thought I'd never see you again. When Vexor's men took me, I kept thinking of your promise. It gave me hope. Derek knelt beside her, his expression heavy. Zara, I'm sorry you went through that. I never wanted this. Her skin shifted to a warm pink, a shy vulnerability surfacing. I know the promise was a jest to you, but to me, it was a dream. I studied Earth, learned your language because I believed in you. Not just the promise, but you, the man who saw me, even as a child. Derek's breath caught, her words stirring something deep. Zara, you're incredible. Your strength, your mind. I'm starting to see you, really see you. Zara reached for his hand, her skin glowing brighter. I love you, Derek. Not because of a vow, but because of who you are. I don't expect you to feel the same, but I needed you to know. Derek's heart raced, torn between her sincerity and his loyalty to Sarah. He squeezed her hand, his voice hoarse. I don't know what to say, Zara. I need time. She nodded, her skin settling to a calm green. I'll wait. Sarah turned away, her face hidden, but her silence spoke volumes. Derek felt the weight of Zara's confession, a new layer in the tangle of his emotions, as the forest's glow seemed to dim around them. The trio moved swiftly through the glowing forest, the tracker's signal now silent, replaced by the distant hum of council hovercraft. Derek led the way, his arm throbbing from the drone's sting, but his focus was on Zara, who leaned on him for support. Sarah trailed behind, her disruptor still in hand, her eyes scanning the shadows. The vanguard's retreat had left the caverns unstable, and tremors shook the ground, urging them to hurry. A sudden explosion rocked the forest, a trap set by Vexor's forces to cover their escape. Crystal shards rained down, and Derek pulled Zara behind a glowing tree, shielding her. Sarah dove for cover, her quick reflexes saving her from a falling branch. They're trying to slow us, she shouted, her voice sharp with frustration. Derek's comm buzzed with Kaylee's voice. We're closing in, but the Vanguard drones are blocking our path. Get to the Western Ridge extraction point. They pushed forward, navigating a gauntlet of collapsing tunnels and rogue drones. Sarah fired precise pulses, disabling 2 drones, while Derek used his tracker to map a safe route. Zara, her skin a determined green, pointed to a hidden path. There, through the Crystal Grove. It's faster. The grove was a maze of towering spires, their light disorienting. A Vanguard straggler emerged, his skin red with rage, and lunged at Derek. Sarah stunned him with a pulse, but not before he triggered a sonic trap. The high-pitched wail dazed them, and Derek's vision blurred. Zara's hand steadied him, her voice cutting through the noise. "Stay with me, Derek." They stumbled onto the ridge, where a council hovercraft waited, its lights piercing the dusk. Kaylee's guards rushed to secure Zara, their skins flashing relief. But as Derek helped her aboard, he caught Sarah's gaze, distant, guarded, her silence louder than any words. Back in Lamora, the council chambers were a storm of accusations. Advisors, their skins red and blue, demanded answers. "Vance, your presence incites chaos," one shouted. Kaylee's raised a hand, his skin a steady purple. "Derek risked his life for Zara. He deserves our trust." Derek stood before them, battered but resolute. "Vexer escaped, and that's on me. But I believe in this alliance. Let me prove it." The council relented, but their skepticism lingered, a political wound that would fester. In private, Sarah pulled Derek aside, her voice low. "You saved her, Derek. But every time you choose her, I feel you slipping away." Derek's chest tightened, Zara's confession echoing in his mind. "Sarah, I love you, but I can't ignore what's happening. I need to figure this out." Sarah's eyes glistened, her voice breaking. "Then figure out soon. I can't keep waiting." As she walked away, Derek felt the rift widen. Zara, recovering nearby, watched him with quiet hope, her skin a soft green. The council's demands loomed, Vexer's threat lingered, and Derek stood at a crossroads, torn between duty, love, and a promise that refused to fade. The choices ahead would test him and the alliance like never before. In the council chambers of Lamora, the air was thick with anticipation. Zarathian advisors, their skins shifting between cautious blue and hopeful gold, watched as Derek stood before Kaylee's. Zara sat nearby, her skin a steady teal, her eyes fixed on Derek with quiet trust. The weight of the recent crisis, Zara's kidnapping, Vexer's escape, hung over them, but Derek's voice was calm, resolute. "Kaylee's council members," Derek began, his hands clasped to steady himself. "I've learned the depth of your traditions, the sacredness of promises. My words to Zara 10 years ago were careless, but they've brought us here. I propose a trial period, a time to understand Zara, not as a vow, but as a person. No cultural bindings, just honesty. If we find a true connection, we move forward. If not, we part with respect." The advisors murmured, their skins flickering with curiosity. Kaylee's skin glowed a thoughtful purple, his gaze piercing. "You seek to honor our ways while staying true to your own. This is a bold request, Derek Vance. What does Zara say?" Zara rose, her gown rippling like starlight. "I agree, Father. Derek's willingness to learn, to risk his life for me, shows his heart. I want to know him as he is, not as a promise demands." An advisor, her skin a skeptical red, spoke up. "And if this fails, the alliance could suffer further unrest." Derek met her gaze. "I understand the stakes. That's why I'm asking for trust. Let us prove this can strengthen our worlds, not divide them." Kaylee's skin warmed to a golden hue, a rare sign of approval. "Very well. You have 3 months. Live among us, share our ways, and let truth guide you. The council will observe, but the choice is yours." Zara's skin flashed a vibrant green, her smile small but genuine. Derek exhaled, relief mingling with nervousness. He glanced at the chamber's entrance, where Sarah had stood days ago, her absence a quiet ache. This trial was a chance to find clarity, but it meant facing his heart head-on, with no guarantees of what he'd discover. As the council adjourned, Kaylee's placed a hand on Derek's shoulder. "Be true, Derek. For Zara, for yourself, and for the bridge we build." Derek and Zara soared over Zoratha's shimmering mountains in a sleek hovercraft, the twin suns painting the peaks in hues of violet and gold. The wind carried the scent of luminescent blossoms, and Zara's laughter rang out as she guided the craft through a spiraling descent. Her skin glowed a joyful pink, her eyes catching the light as she glanced at Derek. "Hold on," she called, banking sharply to skim a crystal cliff. The view was breathtaking. Jagged spires rising from glowing valleys, rivers of liquid light weaving through the landscape. Derek gripped the seat, grinning despite himself. "You're showing off." "Maybe a little," Zara admitted, her skin flashing yellow with mischief. She leveled the craft, settling it on a plateau overlooking a radiant lake. "This is my favorite place. I came here as a child, dreaming of the stars." They stepped out, the ground soft with glowing moss. Derek marveled at the serenity, so different from Earth's chaos. "It's incredible. I can see why you love it." Zara sat on a smooth stone, her skin settling to a calm green. "Tell me about your favorite place on Earth." Derek thought for a moment, then smiled. "The Pacific coast. Waves crashing, endless horizon. Sarah and I used to walk there, planning our future." His voice faltered, guilt flickering. Zara's skin softened to purple, empathetic. "You miss her. It's okay to say it." He nodded, sitting beside her. "Ido. But being here, with you, it's opening something new. I want to understand it." Over the weeks, they wove their worlds together. In Lumera's markets, Zara taught Derek to bargain for sunberries, her skin flashing red with delight when he haggled poorly. "You're hopeless," she teased, tossing him a glowing fruit. He laughed, the ease between them growing. One evening, Derek invited Zara to his quarters, determined to share a piece of Earth. He stood at a makeshift stove, stirring a pot of spaghetti sauce, the aroma of garlic and tomatoes filling the room. Zara watched, her skin a curious blue, her antennae twitching. "Food that doesn't glow?" she asked, peering into the pot. "What's the point?" Derek chuckled, handing her a spoon. "Taste it. Trust me." She took a tentative bite, her skin shifting to a surprised yellow. "It's warm, comforting, like your stories." They sat cross-legged on the floor, sharing plates of pasta, Zara's laughter echoing as sauce smudged her chin. Derek wiped it away with a napkin, their eyes meeting in a quiet moment. Her skin glowed pink, and he felt a warmth he couldn't ignore. Later, they visited a Zarathian archive, where Zara showed him holographic records of her people's history. "This is the Great Convergence," she said, pointing to a scene of Zarathians uniting after a war. "We learned to trust again. I believe we can with humans, too." Derek watched her, struck by her passion. "You're like your father, always looking forward." She smiled, her skin a steady green. "And you're like no one I've known. You make me want to see Earth, to build that bridge together." One night, under a canopy of glowing stars, Zara took Derek's hand. "I'm falling for you, Derek. Not the promise, but you. Your humor, your heart. Is it the same for you?" He hesitated, Sarah's face flashing in his mind, but Zara's sincerity anchored him. "I'm starting to feel it, Zara. It's real, and it scares me, but I want this." Her skin blazed a vibrant pink, and she leaned into him, their foreheads touching. The moment was gentle, profound, a promise of their own making. As they explored each other's worlds, Derek felt their bond deepen, a love built on choice, not obligation, blossoming against the backdrop of Zoratha's radiant beauty. Sarah stood in her New York office, surrounded by data tablets and holographic charts on interspecies ethics. The city's skyline glittered beyond the window, a reminder of the life she'd shared with Derek. Her heart ached, but her resolve was firm. Weeks of reflection had brought clarity, and she was ready to move forward. She activated a calm link, Derek's face appearing on the screen. He was in Lumora, his expression a mix of hope and guilt. "Sarah," he said, his voice soft. "I've been worried about you." Sarah smiled, her eyes steady. "I needed time, Derek. Watching you with Zara, it hurt. But I see it now. You're falling for her, and it's not just the promise. It's real." Derek's shoulders sagged, relief and sorrow mingling. "I never wanted to lose you. You're my best friend, my partner. And you're mine," Sarah said, her voice firm but kind. "But we can't hold on to what's changing. I've been working on something new, research into interspecies relationships. I'm helping couples like you and Zara navigate cultural gaps. It's my way of building the future we dreamed of." Derek's eyes widened, a proud smile breaking through. "That's incredible, Sarah. You're turning pain into purpose." She nodded, a weight lifting. I'm happy for you, Derek. For both of you. Zara's remarkable, and you're good together. Just don't forget me. Never, he promised, his voice thick. You'll always be part of me. Days later, Sarah arrived in Lamora for a conference on interspecies diplomacy. She met Zara in a glowing garden, the air scented with blossoms. Zara's skin was a warm green, her smile genuine. Sarah, thank you for helping Derek. For helping us. Sarah returned the smile, her heart lighter. You're welcome, Zara. Take care of him, okay? Zara's skin flashed pink, her nod sincere. I will. And thank you for your work. It's making a difference. As Sarah walked away, she felt a sense of closure. Her new path, guiding others through the complexities of love across worlds, was her calling. She glanced back at Zara, then at the city's radiant skyline, and knew she was exactly where she needed to be. The grand plaza of Lamora shimmered under Zoratha's twin suns, transformed for the wedding of Derek and Zara. Thousands gathered, humans in sleek diplomatic attire, Zorathians with skins glowing in vibrant hues of gold, blue, and pink. Floating lanterns drifted above, their soft light mingling with the crystalline spires that framed the ceremony. The air hummed with alien music, a blend of Earth's strings and Zoratha's resonant chimes, symbolizing the union of two worlds. At the center stood an arch woven with luminescent vines, pulsing like heartbeats. Kaylee's, his skin a regal purple, presided, his presence commanding yet warm. Derek wore a tailored earth suit, a silver ring glinting on his finger, while Zara radiated in a gown that shimmered like a nebula, her skin a serene teal. Their eyes met, a shared promise born of choice, not obligation. Kaylee's raised his hands, silencing the crowd. Today, we unite Derek Vance and Zara of Lamora, a bond that bridges our worlds. We honor their love with traditions old and new. The human tradition came first. Derek took Zara's hand, his voice steady. Zara, you've shown me courage, wisdom, and a love I never imagined. This ring is my vow, to stand by you, to build a future together. He slipped a delicate band onto her finger, its crystal inlay catching the light. Zara's skin glowed pink, her smile radiant. Derek, you gave me a dream as a child and a home as a woman. This ring is my vow, to cherish you, to unite our worlds. She placed a matching band on his finger, her touch warm and sure. The crowd cheered, humans clapping, Zorathians humming in harmony. The Zorathian ritual followed. Kaylee's presented a crystal orb, its core swirling with light. In our tradition, the rite of light binds hearts through shared radiance. Derek and Zara each placed a hand on the orb, their intentions spoken in unison. We share our light, our truth, our future. The orb flared, projecting a cascade of colors, blue for trust, gold for hope, red for love, that enveloped them in a glowing aura. The Zorathian skins mirrored the display, a collective wave of approval. Sarah, standing among the guests, watched with a bittersweet smile, her eyes glistening but proud. Human diplomats and Zorathian elders joined hands, a gesture of unity. Kaylee stepped forward, his skin golden. This union is a beacon. Let it guide us toward peace. As Derek and Zara kissed, the plaza erupted in light and sound. Lanterns bursting, music soaring. The crowd danced, humans learning Zorathian steps, Zorathians swaying to earth rhythms. The ceremony was more than a wedding. It was a testament to trust rebuilt, a symbol of two species stepping into a shared future. Derek and Zara stood atop a hill overlooking Lamora, the city's crystalline towers aglow under a twilight sky. The twin suns had set, leaving a canvas of stars that mirrored the lanterns from their wedding days ago. The air was cool, scented with luminescent blossoms, and the distant hum of the city felt like a heartbeat. Zara's skin shimmered a gentle green, her hand intertwined with Derek's, their rings catching the starlight. Look at it, Zara said, her voice soft with awe. Lumara's always been home, but now it feels bigger, like it belongs to both of us. Derek squeezed her hand, his gaze tracing the city's radiant skyline. It does. We've built something here, Zara. Not just us, but everyone who believed in this. They sat on the soft moss, the hill's vantage point offering a view of the bustling markets, the council chambers, and the glowing gardens where they'd first connected. Derek's mind drifted to the journey. Zara's kidnapping, Vexor's threats, Sarah's sacrifice. The scars remained, but they'd forged a stronger bond. Zara's skin shifted to a thoughtful blue. Do you think we can keep this peace? Vexor's still out there, and not everyone trusts the Alliance. Derek nodded, his expression serious. It won't be easy. There'll always be voices like Vexor's, human or Zarathian, who fear change. But we've shown what's possible. The trade deals are stronger, the council's united, and Sarah's work is helping others cross the same bridges we did. Zara smiled, her skin warming to pink. Sarah's remarkable. Her blessing at the wedding, it meant everything. She's building her own legacy, Derek said, pride in his voice. Helping couples like us, making sure no one else stumbles over promises the way I did. They laughed, the sound light against the night. Zara leaned into him, her antennae brushing his cheek. What do you see for us, Derek? 10 years from now. He looked out at Lamora, imagining its future. I see us here, maybe with a home in those mountains. You teaching me how to fly that hovercraft properly. Me teaching our kids to make spaghetti. Zara's skin flashed a vibrant yellow, her eyes wide. Kids. Derek grinned, his heart full. Yeah, little ones with your eyes and my stubborn streak. They grow up knowing both worlds. Earth's oceans, Zorth's crystals. A new generation to carry this peace forward. Zara's skin glowed brighter, her voice soft with hope. I want that. A family. A future where our children don't have to choose between worlds. They'll just belong. He pulled her close, their foreheads touching, a gesture they'd made their own. They will. We'll make sure of it. Not just for them, but for everyone. More exchanges, more stories, more connections. Below, Lamora pulsed with life. Human traders bartering in the markets. Zarathian children chasing glowing orbs. Mixed couples walking hand in hand. The Alliance, once fragile, had taken root, its growth a quiet promise of harmony. Derek thought of the festival a decade ago, his careless words to a child, and how they'd led to this moment. A mistake had become a miracle. Zara's skin settled to a steady green, her voice a whisper. Do you ever think about that promise? How it changed everything. All the time, Derek said, his tone warm. It was a spark. But this, you, us, this world we're building, that's the fire. She kissed him, the stars above them blazing brighter, as if echoing their joy. They stood, hand in hand, looking out at Lumira's radiant expanse. The city was a testament to their love, a beacon for a galaxy learning to trust. And somewhere in their future, a new generation waited, ready to inherit a world where promises, no matter how small, could light the way to peace. As they descended the hill, Zara's skin flickered with gold, and Derek's heart felt lighter than ever. The path ahead was uncertain. Vexor's shadow lingered, and challenges would come. But together, they were unstoppable. Lumira's glow followed them, a reminder that love, like light, could bridge any divide, and their story was only the beginning.